it's Shel from Paper Octio Studio, and today I'm showing you the canvas that I made for Beverly Stout, who was the first winner of the 2000 subscriber giveaway canvases. This is an 8 by 10 canvas, and her answers were that she likes any sort of green, all kinds of greens. Her favorite animal is dragon. She likes, or she thinks that she's inspired by architecture from Europe, like arches and cathedrals and old cottages and things like that. She loves peanut M&Ms. So do I. And the fifth question, what was it? Oh yes, prefers swirls, spirals, curves over straight lines. So I am making this canvas trying to keep those things in mind. So as you can see, I'm drawing a dragon. At least I think you can see that. I hope so. But whenever I was thinking about arches and things like that in architecture, all I could think of, being the person that I am, is Arches National Park, which I visited a long time ago and camped there. It's in Utah, and it's an amazing landscape. And there's a very famous arch there that is what I am using for this arch, because the dragon sitting, what would happen if a dragon sat on that arch, Wouldn't that be cool? It would to me. So I drew the picture with the dragon on the arch onto my canvas, and then now I'm just tracing it onto some. I'm tracing the dragon onto some deli paper, because I decided I'm going to collage, because I'm still in a collaging mood and I want to paper paint. So that's what I decided to do for the canvas. Also, I'm doing the moon as well. And then I'm going to start working on the background. I decided that it was nighttime and the dragon was perched on the arch when nobody would be visiting the park, so no one would see him. And he just likes to hang out there and look at the stars and the moon. So I decided to paint the background with black gesso, which covers very quickly, and I started with a large brush and then moved to a smaller brush for more detail around the arch and the dragon. I'm not real concerned about being absolutely perfect, because there will be collage over this, but I did want to make sure that I covered all the white spaces that were around everything. So this is how I did it, but it's definitely not perfect. I had to go back and keep touching up, because I was still getting a few little rough spots on the canvas where it wasn't covered completely. But that's pretty quick coverage for a black, going from white to black. Then I decided to use some Deco Art Media Line Fluid Acrylics, and then one of my little high flows, which is the indigo one. And I started out with this concept, and in the end, this part of the stenciling you can't see that much. Stenciling something over black, of course, unless you have an opaque color, isn't going to show up that much. This is indigo and Payne's gray, and the reason that it shows up is because black gesso is very, very matte, and these paints are not. They have a little bit of sheen to them. But once, and I thought that looked really cool, and I was happy with it. But then once I went over everything with spray and glazing and stuff, it just went away. But it still looks fine. So then I took a little bit of cobalt blue and a little bit of dioxazine purple, and mixed those with just a drop of the titanium white. And I'm just kind of painting those on some of the circles randomly. And then I'm just kind of blending them in with a wet baby wipe, just to kind of highlight some of the circles. Then I decided I'm going to use this stencil that I've been using a lot. It's from Crafter's Workshop, and I'll list which one it is with the link down below. I'll make sure to put the material list, even though it takes a lot of time. Everybody wants it, so I'll just go ahead and do it. yeah, just stenciling those around just for extra visual interest using that same color combination that I was using. Then I decide to switch colors and go with some cobalt turquoise and a little drop of titanium white. And I was going to highlight more circles, but then I decided it would be overwhelming, so I decided to just use this for splattering. And yeah, I thought about using that stencil, but then I did not end up doing it because I want the background to be interesting without being overpowering. And I was kind of thinking of stars and planets and, things like that. So I decided to use this stencil that my friend just sent me. It's got some little stars on it, and right now I'm putting some masking tape over the moon because I didn't want the moon. I just wanted a few of these little stars. So I'm using a cosmetic sponge and that same cobalt turquoise and white, titanium white mixture. But then it's running out and it's too light, so I put some more on there, and then it becomes a lot more bright. So I just stencil a few of these little stars randomly around, trying to build up my night sky. Stars, around. I don't have a lot to say. Stars. Then I did a little bit more splattering. And then I decided to get some bigger splatters using a small detail brush and very wet titanium white because I wanted them to be brighter. Because you got the really far away stars and then the closer up stars and then the planets, and that's just kind of what I was going for. So I set that aside to dry, and then I'm starting with my paper painting. Starting with the moon, I've got my yellow color box, and I'm just kind of going for some real pale yellowy oranges colors, not super bright. And I'm going to use golden soft gel medium. I'm actually liking it pretty well. Soft gel, not regular gel. The regular gel gets too rubbery. And I'm using it with a brush. Just, this is my glue brush. It's like nasty and it's got glue all up in it. And, that's what I use it for. And I'm just putting my papers onto the little circle that I drew on my deli paper. Then I'm going to cut that out eventually after it dries. I won't make you watch that. And then I'm going to start collaging, paper painting my dragon, which I had traced earlier onto the deli paper. This took a while. This whole canvas took about 3.5 hours to complete, so I've condensed it down into 20 minutes-ish. So I will cut out some of this, but the idea is to think about where the light and the shadows are and try to duplicate that using paper. And these are just scraps. Some of it's deli paper, some of it's overspray from when I've been spraying, some of it's jelly prints, scraps of packaging. If it has a nice color on it, I'll tear it off and throw it in my scraps. Just this and that. I like paper, so I like to keep it. So I'm highlighting along his back using a very pale green-yellow color, and then deepening it as I go down, because I figured the moonlight would be hitting the top of him. I think it's a him. It could be a her. I'm not really sure how you would tell the difference between a boy or a girl dragon. No one who's ever done that artwork has ever highlighted that particular part of their body. So I don't know. I don't know if it's a boy or a girl. You decide. I also don't know its name, so if you have a good name for it, you can leave that in the comments below. And while you're doing that, give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and share it if you want to. Those things help my channel a lot when you do that. And I'm very appreciative of it. Very grateful of the support that I've received from YouTube And that's the reason that I'm doing these giveaways, because it's pretty awesome. I haven't even had my channel a year yet, and already I'm 2,500 plus subscribers. So it's pretty awesome. I like it. It's awesome. And I'm kind of addicted to it, as you can see by the ridiculous volume of videos I've been putting out. It's pretty fun. Okay, so once I'm done collaging my dragon, then I'm going to go ahead and stick on my moon. And I'm still using that soft gel, putting it both on the canvas and on the back of the moon, and then pressing it down real well to get it sealed in. And then I'm going to start on my arch. When I showed the people in my house this picture, they recognized the arch immediately. And one of them said, "Isn't that arch where on YouTube they swing in it?" You know, there is a video with this particular arch. I'm surprised that the park would let them do that, but yeah, they tied a rope to the top of it and then were swinging through it. So, very famous, but not an arch on a cathedral. Sorry, Beverly. It's just how I think. I thought about making an arch on a cathedral and having the dragon on top, but I just couldn't get this arch out of my mind. I went camping there years and years and years ago. Well, it wasn't that many years, but we camped there we went on a big driving trip, starting in California and then driving up to Utah. We went to Zion, and then Bryce Canyon, and then Canyonlands, and I think Arches was next, and then we curved back around and went to the Grand Canyon. At some point we went to Mesa Verde. I don't know if that was the same trip, but anyway, it was a camping trip. And when we were at Arches, it was so hot that we just slept in the tent with nothing, no blankets or anything, because it was warm enough to just sleep, natural. It was very fun, though. We had a great time. So I'm just building my arch now, doing, I did use a picture for reference for this, so I'm looking at the picture and trying to put the colors in a way that it would represent that particular arch so that it's recognizable. It's a really cool picture too. It's of the night sky with the arch, and then somebody standing underneath it with a big torch, so the underside of it is all lit up. It's pretty cool. So this is my brown color box. It's my brown scraps, in case you hadn't figured that out. I did change. So once all of that is done, I'm going to go ahead and I went ahead and fussy cut the dragon out of the deli paper, and now I'm attaching him to the canvas using that soft gel and making sure that there's a lot of gel under there and that it's really pressed down. I'm pressing with my fingers, getting a ridiculous coat of glue on my fingers that is like, you peel it off. It's crazy. It was like thick, a big thick coat of it, but wanted to make sure that it was all sealed on there. Then I let this dry for several hours. I went outside and messed around a little bit and let this dry. And now I'm going to do what I used to consider cheating for paper painting, but I've now decided that I like to do this. I'm going to build up some shadows right over the collage. And I'm using my Pitt artist pens. These are made by Faber-Castell, and they're India ink, so once they're dry, they are dry, and they don't get upset by other media going over the top. But you do have a few seconds to blend if you're on a non-porous surface, which this has been sealed with the matte medium, so it's non-porous. So you see my finger go out and blend and then come back and then go out and come back. I know this is sped up, so you can't see it exactly in the speed that it is. But I'm just building up color, starting with a green, and then I'm going to move to a gray, and then I'm going to, add different colors just to add shadows and more depth over my collage. I'm sure other people who do purist paper painting would not approve of this. But I like it. I think it adds something to the composition. So then I decide that the background is too crazy and that it's competing too much with my green dragon, which is supposed to be the focal point. So I decided to do some glazing. This is dioxazine purple in the Deco Art fluid, and then some matte medium liquid form. And it makes it a very thin coat of translucency that you can put over without completely destroying your pattern in the background, but making it more subtle. And I think that this works great. Since I've been doing this, I've really enjoyed glazing. Um, so you say, why wouldn't you just put water with it? Well, water will break down the polymers in the paint. It's something called underbinding, which, if you look at the website, that's what it'll call it. But basically, it's just making the plasticky stuff in the paint, plasticky rubbery stuff, not be able to stick anymore because you've taken too much of it away by diluting it. So if you dilute it with a medium, a liquid medium, be it gloss medium or matte medium or whatever, then you're adding in polymers, gooey, sticky stuff into the paint because those mediums are basically just paint without pigment. So then in that way, it will stick to whatever you're putting it on. So I did a little bit of glazing over my arch and rocks, and now I'm doing a little bit with yellow oxide over the moon, just to kind of smooth everything out and give it more unity. And because I wanted to. Then now I'm going back in again. I've dried this, and I'm going back in with a kind of taupe gray. This is probably my favorite of the Pit Pen colors to do shading with, because it's not black and it's not brown, because I have a thing about brown. I don't really like brown. But it can be built up if you put some layers and blend and then put some more layers. It can be built up into a really nice shadow color. So I probably should figure out what color it is specifically, because I bet that this one is going to run out before all the rest of my pens and I'm going to have to replace it. So hopefully there's a number or something on it. I don't know. But I would hate to have to buy the entire 72 set or whatever it is again just to get that one pen. I'm sure that I can buy it as an individual pen. I know there's a Stampers Big Brush pens that you can buy individually that a lot of people have. They're a bigger version of this. These are the smaller ones. So, yeah, I'll have to look into that. So I'm just, building up shadows, putting a line, blending it with my finger, just wherever I think is necessary. Under his face, I want his face to stand out against the moon, but I don't want to put, more yellow. So that grayish, brownish color works great. So then I'm just adding this sunny yellow color to his spines and then the tips of the wings, the edges of the wings, because I thought I needed more of a yellowish tone to balance with the moon. And then I've got this spring green color and just kind of adding it in a few places, just for fun, just trying to build up color and unify. I hope I can explain myself well enough. I'm not a professional, people, so what I'm saying is just stuff that I think, not necessarily the answer to all things art, because I am not a trained professional. I only play one on YouTube. So now I am going to go in with some illustration lines. This is the medium bullet tip from the Faber-Castell pins that I like to use. These are also India ink, and it's kind of a set for illustration. It has different tips in the set, all black. And I'm just kind of sketchily putting in some black lines around to just do the final illustration on the dragon to make sure that you can tell what it is and that it stands out from the background. I think you can tell what it is. And then, of course, I can't live without my white Posca pen. I'm going over all the places where the dragon should have little thorns or claws or spines. The pointy parts, the pointy parts. And just adding a little highlight on each tip of each one. I think that extra pop of white just makes a huge difference. It really does. It's subtle, but it does something for the whole composition. I'm touching up with the black. Now, at this point, I'm fussing. You know, the fussing. You've seen the fussing before. I could go on for days. Just touching. I decide that I need a little bit of black lines into the rocks as well, because now they're looking dull and undefined where the dragon is so defined. So I just do that quickly, very quickly. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, that's good. Okay. Put everything away. I think I'm done. No, wait, I'm not done. Get those pins back out. Oh, that's right. Wanted some more white spatters. You know, I put that dioxazine purple glaze, and I wanted to pump some white back into it. So I just used some titanium white in my fan brush to do some little splatters. And then, yes, I get a pin out. This one's brown, and I just decide that I'm going to add a little shadow where I've put the black lines that I sketched on there real quickly, shadowing them in as well with a little bit of a brown, medium brown color, because I can't stop. And then I decide, but it's red sandstone. It needs a little bit of rusty color in it. So I get out the rusty color. See, this is what the fussing is. This is when you just can't stop. It's like, when is it done? When is it really done? And then there was just a few little spots that I thought needed touching up around the edges. So I got out the purple just to touch them up a little bit. I thought maybe there's a little bit of something showing, I guess. I don't know what I was thinking. So we're just about done, and I'm going to sign it, and I'm going to mail it to Beverly Stout. So thanks, you guys. That's it for me. Bye-bye.